Whatever happened to this specific tag team style title belt that Flair was carrying? In 1986, while wrestling in Jim Crockett Promotions in NWA territory, Ric Flair debuted the Big Gold Belt and proclaimed this to be the true symbol of excellence in the sport of professional wrestling. Since its debut, the Big Gold Belt and Ric Flair have become synonymous with one another. In 1991, Ric Flair had all he could stand of WCW President Jim Herd. Their opposing views on professional wrestling forced Flair to leave WCW and head for the WWF. On WWF television, we would see Bobby the Brain Heenan present the Big Gold Belt on TV and tease that the real world's champion would soon be coming. Flair arrived in the fall of 1991, and together he and Heenan would refer to the Big Gold Belt as the real world's championship on all WWF programming. It wasn't long before WCW filed suit against Ric Flair and the WWF regarding their use of the Big Gold Belt, and the WWF was no longer allowed to show the Big Gold Belt on their TV. The WWF came up with the storyline that WWF President Jack Tunney refused to acknowledge the Big Gold Belt as a legitimate championship, and therefore he would not show it on TV. The WWF began to blur out any image of the Big Gold Belt on their programs. Behind the scenes, Flair and WCW came to an agreement where Flair would receive his deposit money back and in turn would send the belt back to WCW. The WWF then created a very similar looking belt, now affectionately known by wrestling fans as the Vegas Big Gold Belt. Because this belt looked so similar, WCW again filed suit and the WWF was forced to discontinue its use. It was at this time Flair began to wear a different belt on the house show loops and for WWF TV programming. The WWF continued to blur out images of the belt on TV, keeping with their storyline that Flair was not a legitimate WWF champion. Fans, however, noticed something about this belt. It appeared to be a WWF World Tag Team title belt. The WWF tag titles of this era were an unmistakable design featuring a globe in the middle and the words World across that globe. Its iconic size and design were very familiar to most wrestling fans. The WWF, however, sticking with kayfabe, continued to present the story as if Flair was still carrying the Big Gold Belt. Upon closer look, this tag team style World Championship belt that Flair carried did have one noticeable difference from the actual tag straps. While most every other characteristic was the same, the black banner under the globe that read Tag Team was replaced by a black banner with 3 gemstones instead of any words. Other than that, the belts seemed identical. Flair carried this belt around until the Royal Rumble 1992, where he would win the WWF Championship, and he would then carry around the classic WWF Winged Eagle belt. It was from this point forward the real world's championship gimmick faded away, and so did any trace of this obscure tag team style World Heavyweight Championship belt. Belt fans around the world have been left to wonder, whatever happened to this specific tag team style title belt that Flair was carrying? If you know what happened to the belt, tell me in the comments, because I can't find any trace of it online. Thanks for watching.